The curious case of the wobbly microphone. So it's a lovely summer evening. If I'm not at home, where would I be? I'd be at the BBC Proms, of course, at the Royal Albert Hall, soaking up the lovely melodies, harmonies and orchestrations of Schumann, Sibelius and Tchaikovsky. Oh, and a really dreadfully dreary horn concerto by some guy called Abrahamson. Awful. But then he could say that about my irritating unboxing music, couldn't he? Album out later this year. Don't worry, I don't mind modern music. If you can call Messiaen's Turangalila Symphony modern, then I'd loved that to bits just a week or so before. I had a little chat with Cynthia afterwards. Then security told me I needed to go. Still here. Congratulations! I know from bitter experience that any mention of classical music, violins, orchestras and stuff frightens away the weak-minded. But they've all gone now, so we're in the company of friends. Highbrow friends. Anyway, it's not the music I want to talk about, it's the sound, the audio. Much more important than the music. That's a joke, come on. What was distracting me all the way through the performance, and I bet not just me, was a wobbly microphone. For context, here's the whole stage, which I shot during the applause at the end of the horn concerto. Polite applause for such dreadful music, since the composer was present in the audience. The orchestra is the BBC Philharmonic. Excellent. Photography is, of course, not allowed. And very few audience members are ever crass enough to shoot stills or video during the performance. But during the curtain calls, I'd say it's fair game. Anyway, you wouldn't know about the curious case of the wobbly microphone if I hadn't. So which microphone is it? It's this one. I didn't have my binoculars with me, and trust me, if I'm not close to the stage, I will take them, so I can't be 100% sure which make and model of microphone. But I'm going to guess the Sherps Colette series, with the open cardioid capsule on an RC active extension tube, and I don't know which model of stand at the bottom, but it looks more sturdy to me than the Sherps. The extension tube separates the capsule from the amplifier of the microphone, which of course looks better on TV. We wouldn't want to see any more of those nasty microphones, would we? I'm just squinting my eyes and guessing here, so if you know exactly which mic it is, please correct me in the comments. So, how is it moving? Unfortunately, there were no TV cameras on the night, and as I've said, I wouldn't be trying to film during the performance. So, I've made a crude animation. Here it is. Yes, I know, I should have got one of my AI assistants to help me. So what we should see is the mic, or at least the capsule, at the top, moving back and forth up to around 2 centimetres, at most by my guess. The frequency is higher than in my animation, and I'd put it around 10 Hz, maybe a little less, but I'll stick with the round number. And I'll go for 1.5 centimetres, 15 millimetres as the typical range of motion. I know what question you're asking right now. Where's the pivot point? Come on, keep up. There's maths on the way. Well, you can't really tell from my photo or the animation, but the pivot seemed to be right down at the base. What was happening was that when the conductor, John Storgards by the way, was most enthusiastic on his podium, the floor moved. I'm guessing a stage box that had a screw loose maybe. The adjacent mic was hardly affected, and all the other mics were rock solid. I did, by the way, go to the next night's prom. Different conductor, but the same orchestra. Clearly, a BBC technician had been burning the midnight oil, and all was well. Now, where am I going with this? Was this just a funny, wobbly microphone, irritating and distracting to look at, or could it affect the sound on BBC Radio? Yes, I know I should have been listening to the music, but I thought all of this while that dreadful horn concerto was playing and was thanking heaven for the distraction. But could it affect the sound? Well, the curiosity lobe of my brain would like to find out. To get anywhere, though, we'll have to simplify. So let's just have 2 microphones close together and parallel. One is wobbling, the other is stationary. This actually isn't all that far from the setup of the mic that's on the cellos and the mic that's on the violas. School science! What happens when a sound source moves? You're right, we get the Doppler effect. The pitch rises as the sound source approaches and falls as it moves away. It wouldn't be surprising then to learn that we get the Doppler effect if the mic moves. In fact, anyone into music production will find that you can get a very interesting phasing, flanging sound doing this. No plugins needed. So our wobbly microphone will create the Doppler effect, or rather the movement of the microphone. The frequencies picked up will rise as the mic approaches and fall as it drops back. But how much? Hey, we can calculate this. I'm going to call on the resources of my friend, ChatGPT. I say friend because when AI becomes more intelligent than humans, we are going to be friends, right? This is where the fun starts. We'll treat the system as a simple harmonic oscillator, and we'll consider the sound source to be a 1 kHz audio oscillator. Just the one wobbly mic for starters. Clearly, we'll get more Doppler effect with more velocity, so let's work out V max. 0.942, nearly a metre a second. Going back to what my school maths and physics teachers taught me, it's always a good idea to test an answer for reasonableness. Just under a metre a second at maximum. 10 Hz, 15 millimetre, speeds up and slows down through the cycle. A metre a second at maximum sounds okay to me. Commenters, get your calculators out and don't hesitate to weigh in with your own results. ChatGPT can be wrong, you know. Am I allowed to say that? Next, we can use the Doppler effect equation to find the maximum and minimum frequency shifts. A little bit less than 3 Hz, plus and minus. 997 Hz to 1003 Hz. And back again. Are we having fun yet? Of course you want to hear what this sounds like. I'm going to have to say that my plugins have let me down here, and so have online resources. Sad to say, I can't generate a tone for demonstration with exactly plus and minus 3 Hz modulation. But I can get close. So I'm going to onlinesound.net. I can create a carrier of 1 kHz, then frequency modulate it with a 10 Hz sine wave. What I can't get is precise control over the modulator to get the precise frequency shifts I want. All we have is an impact force setting of 12999. Anyway, let's hear it on its lowest setting. I don't think this is a million miles from what we would hear with the actual physical setup. I'm sure there'll be some commenters who know of better generators for this purpose, clean with precise control, and please comment for next time. What would it sound like for real? I'm going to speculate that a single microphone moving back and forth like this would not create any significant audible effect on an orchestra. However, what might happen when two mics are mixed together? So let me fake this by generating two tones, one of 1000 Hz, the other at 1003 Hz. This will be static without the 10 Hz modulation, but I think you'll find that it sounds interesting. Take a moment to imagine what you're going to hear. OK, here it is. 1000 Hz, 1003 Hz mixed together at equal levels. Ouch, that's not too pleasant, is it? Of course, it's the beat frequency that we're hearing as an amplitude modulation effect. Piano tuners and lorry drivers will know all about this. Because I can't replicate the original issue, I don't happen to have any Sherps mics at all, although I've used and loved them in the past. I don't have a BBC Philharmonic Orchestra, and I don't have an Albert Hall. What I think, though, is that in this case, one mic out of many is wobbling. It's causing an effect, particularly in the overlap with the adjacent mic. Whether this effect is audible, I rather doubt, unless to those with the very most sensitive of ears. I've listened to the radio broadcast and it sounds just fine to me. 10 seconds. Anyway, this is the kind of thing that I call fun. I'm an audio enthusiast, and why wouldn't I? I hope you do, too. Oh, and thanks to the BBC guy or girl who worked diligently throughout the night to drive a few more nails into the stage box and fix the problem for the rest of the season. See you soon.
Hi, I'm Phil, Audio Phil. Like the moving microphone, I have a moving loudspeaker setup in my research listening room. Each loudspeaker is suspended from the ceiling via a double pendulum. I set these in back and forth motion at the start of my listening session. This adds a chaotic, ever-changing, delightful randomness, particularly to my favorite jazz vinyls. The swinging of the loudspeakers creates an ambient, enveloping sound field that makes me feel as though I'm in the middle of a live performance.
You're so full of shit.